How's it going? Hope you're having a great day and welcome to the show. This podcast will have a lot of folks connected to the world of sports, people related to the entertainment industry, the arts. Also, I'm looking for great stories to inspire, maybe make you think a little bit. I've got one today that I think you'll really like. Mony Nop came to the United States from Cambodia, the killing fields. He saw violence, he saw hunger, became a success in his life, and really is a story that maybe will make you think about your own possibilities, your own limitations, and breaking through those. A good guy. I did whoop his ass in the Dancing with the Tri-Valley Stars contest, but he hasn't let that stop him. He's still going to go on and do great things in life. I proudly present to you, Mony Nop. First thing I think about when I think about Mony Nop, when I look at the bio, I see from the killing fields of Cambodia, back in the bad days of Khmer Rouge and Pol Pot, 1975 to 79. What do you recall about those times?
Oh man, I recalled living in a shack with 4 stilts above ground, with grass roof, and going to bed hungry every night. My father used to catch rats and mice, and would cut them open, dry them all up, and then saute them with salt, and put them on the roof of our hut to dry them out. So this way we could have them for dinner. Whenever I get hungry, of course, I would eat bugs and grasshoppers and crickets and iguanas, whatever I could find, or roots, anything that I could get my hands on. In fact, my mother told me that by the age of 5, normally the communist leaders will pass out a certain amount of food ration to the families. And by the time they pass them out, I've already stolen enough for the family. This is at the age of 5 years old. And I'll never forget one time when I was sitting in a mass tent on dirt floor with a bunch of boys and girls at my age, clenching onto a bowl and a spoon, waiting for someone, an adult, to put some food in the middle of the circle with all the kids. And every time that the food was placed into the middle for all of us to dine on, we would eat as fast as we could. Whoever eat the fastest get the most. Yeah. Well, one day, as the food was running out, I decided, you know what? I'm so hungry, I got to have the rest of it. So I dumped the rest into my bowl. One kid jumped up. He got as hungry as I was. He was so angry that he did that. He jumped onto me, latched onto me, and bit me. I got a 2-inch bite mark on the right side of my chest today that bears that memory when I was 5 years old. I remember crying my eyes out, because I was bleeding all over the place. I was just waiting for someone to come help me and rescue me, and no one did. I was crazy at the age of 5. I just looked at my scar this morning. Kind of crazy.
I'm thinking about the eating rats and things like that. Is there kind of that old adage, it tastes like chicken? I mean, what does it taste like?
Oh, my God. Yeah, you can say that now. I mean, looking back, yeah, it tasted like chicken, but it was delicious. But now it's like disgusting as heck. I would never do such thing again. But you never know. And most of us say, oh, my God, it's just so disgusting. But when you don't have anything, when you knew that either you eat something or you go to bed hungry and you would die, or at times when I would lay on the ground because I didn't have any food to eat, my stomach would churn and churn until I cried myself to sleep because my stomach would hurt so bad because there's no food. So you would have to eat what you have to eat in order to survive. And that's what life was all about from 1972 to 1978 for me, the first 6 years of my life.
How does that make you appreciate everything you have now?
Oh, everything, man. It's almost like I think of my appreciation. I think of Oprah. One of the things that Oprah Winfrey says, she said that when the first thing you get up in the morning, the things that we do wrong is to pick up the phone and said, oh my God, look at all these negative texts or negative emails, whatnot coming in. She said, no, that's not how you do it. She said, what you do is you stand straight up, get out of bed, stand straight up, put your arms out in the air, look up in the sky and says, thank you, Lord, for the blessing of of the life that I have. So what I think about every morning is I think about the duvet cover that I have, the double-sided mattress that I have, the electricity that when I turn on the switch that it came on. We've always had lamps. We've always brushed our teeth with rock salt and our fingers, Dave. I didn't get to brush my teeth with toothpaste and a toothbrush until I came to the United States of America on July 8th, 1983. So I've always went to bed with a log underneath my head as my pillow and as a rag as my blanket. and that's all I had. And you're lucky if I had a pair of shorts because it's always warm in a tropical forest, tropical country. But that's all you had. And now when we, the bathroom, you got a bathroom, a running bathroom that flushes, right? And you turn on the water, the darn thing comes out. I remember in Thailand, even living in refugee camps in Thailand at the age of 6. Now, mind you, I walked from Cambodia to Thailand when I was 6 years old. I got into the refugee camps in Thailand. They only gave us a bucket of water a day, Dave, to bathe and shower and all that. If you run out, you got to walk miles outside the fence area from the United Nations camp. And if you get caught by the Thai soldier, they will kick the shit out of you.
Really?
Yes. It's crazy. Yeah.
Well, how'd you get out of there then? How did you get here?
So in 1978, the Vietnamese army came to invade Cambodia and to fight against the communist ruler of Khmer Rouge, the regime. And during that time, it gave us an opportunity as a family to escape. So we literally walked in the middle of the night. I remember all I could think of as a 6-year-old was stepping on landmines and blowing myself to pieces because there were thousands and thousands of refugees. And the grass was so high, that's all I could think of was that I'm going to step on a landmine. Here's why. Still today, Dave, I believe Cambodia still has the second most planted landmines in the world. Imagine 1978. That's number one for the longest time until now. Number two, I don't know what the number one country is, but number two, we are still that way. So, I mean, it was crazy. I walked from Cambodia, Thailand at the age of 6 years old, bombs going off, dead bodies everywhere. People getting shot and maimed. In the middle of the night, I'll never forget, I crossed the river where there's a dead body stuck, bloated to a twig in the middle of the night. And all you could see was through the rays of the moon, of the light from the moon, you see this dead body, this person transfixed to this branch and died and bloated. And to cross over him, step over him in order to get to the other side of the river.
I bet you remember every smell, every pore.
Absolutely. I remember so many things. In fact, one of my first memories was making my first American dollar. We arrived in our first refugee camps in Thailand, and we registered. And they had so many problems with rodents because they just put up this dilapidated building for us to stay. And they said, okay, so United Nations staff said, for every rats and mice that you catch, you would get $1. So I would, as a little child, wearing slippers, shorts, and baggy shirts, and if I had one, I would go through these dilapidated buildings with a board, with a stick. And I'm looking for these mice and rats to scurry around. And when I see them, I would hit it. Boom, 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 right? And I finally got my 5, Dave. I'll never forget it. They all bleeding from their nose and, blood all over the place, right? I'm holding them by the tails. I'm waiting this long line to the United Nations staff. Once I got to the front, I turned them in. I got my first American dollar, buddy. It's crazy, right? Now, here's the irony about all this. That used to be food. Now I turn it in for business, for money. And my first American dollar.
And what did you kill it with?
A stick, a board that I had in my hand at the time that I could find. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Crazy, right? I wish I kept that dollar.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah. And you made a couple bucks since then in the real estate business.
Yes.
When you look at that time, now were your family and the people that you were connected with, because you're killing fields, and the estimates are 1.3 million to 2.5 million people.
Exactly.
So were your associates, the people you connected to, being the ones that were killed?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, my mother has 10 siblings. Only 4 survived. 6 were slaughtered. In fact, there's a couple of stories when they had to dig their own graves and was shot right into the graves. 3.5 years ago, maybe 4 years ago now, I got a chance to go back to the killing fields of Cambodia, the ground that killed thousands and thousands of Cambodian people. And when you get there, there's a building about 3 stories high, Dave. It's nothing but glass. And look through the glass, it's nothing but human skulls in there. Now, you walk through the site, and they have the visitors radio, transmitter and all that. You can listen to the story. But when you walk through the site, and they have this like a police caution tape as you're walking through, man, it was crazy. I took every step that I took through the site, there was either a jawbone, teeth, cloth sticking out of the grounds. And when we went to see this, when we walked through the site, for every hole, I would say 10 by 10, 10 by 15, they said there's 500 to 1,000 bodies in there, skulls in there. I mean, literally Teeth were sticking out of the ground, jawbones. I'm like, wow, that's the killing fields of Cambodia still today. And then I also got a chance to visit the SR-21 prison camp. It used to be a former high school converted into a torture chamber. They killed over 20,000 people there. The coolest thing that I got to do was I got to meet, there's only 7 survivors of this site. I got to meet the last 2 survivors at the site who were selling their books at the time when I went to visit. That was 3.5, 4 years ago.
Yeah, you knew you were hungry at that time, but did you know that your life was in jeopardy?
Oh man, I mean every night. I mean, I came close to death so many times. In fact, one time my sister and I, my older sister and I, we got so hungry that we ate the skin off of this potato you're not supposed to eat, and blood was coming out of our pores, and we got so sick. I don't know if we survived it. We survived it, but we ate this thing, and we went to bed, and our stomach was just churning and achings and pains, and we survived it. I don't know how we did it, but we did it. But we were so hungry, we couldn't wait to get our hands on anything, any food, any, I don't know, crumbs at all that we could get our hands on. That's how we went to bed.
So when you come here, do you think that you have a chance to not only have a good meal, but have a life way beyond having dinner?
No, I never imagined that, but though. I never imagined the life that I have right now. I'm so blessed. I'm like one of the most blessed people on earth. And how did I get so blessed? Because the United States gave us an opportunity. When you arrive here, what's so cool about the United States is like truly is the land of the free. You could do whatever you wanted to do. I'll give an example. When I got here, when we first met our sponsor, the first night, we got to our sponsor's home. They cooked us a whole entire chicken for the first time in our entire life, Dave. And this is the first time. We normally have to split them into three meals because we were given a ration. In fact, I didn't tell you this, but I lived in the Philippines for 9.5 months as well. As a 9-year-old, I hunt for food every day. I used to climb the mountains with a bag of rice and trade for potatoes with the Filipinos that lives on the mountain. I would spend 4 to 6 hours a day in a stream. My father and I made our own goggles and our own wooden gun with a rubber band and umbrella spoke. We would go to the stream every day, shoot fish or shrimp for 4 to 6 hours each day, and bring the fish and shrimp back and find the firewoods on the way back home so we can come and cook our food. When I got here in the United States of America, I dumpster dive every day. I mean, how I did that was one of the neighbors had a pink bicycle with one pedal, a girl's bicycle. I learned how to ride that bicycle. And a week later, I learned how to ride a bigger bicycle. And somehow I got a bigger bicycle. I started going to big apartment complexes with my sister at 6 o'clock in the morning with a 50-gallon bag, trash bag. And we would dumpster dive every day. And we would bring the cans back, especially if the cans haven't been crushed yet. The cans haven't been crushed yet. I would make my siblings, I would stack them up in our backyard. Now, this is in the ghetto of Tempe, Arizona. Okay, they have nothing but red clay in the backyard. So I would stack them all, line them all up. I make my brothers and sister get a scoop. We would scoop the red clay and dump them into the can. Then I would spray water it and I would crush it. You know why we do that? To make the weight.
Make it heavier.
Make it heavier so I could trade them in for more money. Survival. Always about survival. And all my life I've always known how to do that.
You know, when you talk about this stuff, the people listening can hear your voice cracking.
Oh my God!
This is very emotional for you.
Oh, very emotional, very emotional. This is, I mean, I could flash back to when I was 5. I could flash back to, when I got, in the Philippines at 9 years old. I could flash back to many memories I had in the 4 years I lived in the refugee camps, in multiple refugee camps before we made it to the Philippines. I could flash back when I got here to the United States of America in 1983. And in 1984, we moved from Tempe, Arizona to Stockton, where my father became a gambling addict and an alcoholic. My mother has 6 months of education her entire life. I still talk to my 3rd grade teacher today. In fact, she'll be at my book launch, my children's book that I'm going to be launching on June 26th here in Livermore. And I flash back being a child laborer in the fields with the Mexican Hispanics. I picked everything you can imagine as a child, from cucumbers to strawberries to peppers to cherry. In fact, I almost fell off the trees several times. And we work on the fields as a child laborer in the fields all the way to Oregon as a child. And when we get back to the camp where they house us, my father taught us how to gamble. we would lose just about everything we had.
What do you gamble on?
We played a Cambodian dice game, and whatever, I would make 20, 25 dollars a day, and I would lose almost all the money I've had. I remember working from 5 o'clock in the morning until 1 o'clock in the afternoon, where I would literally, from being so exhausted, would sleep in the rows of the cucumbers. Now, cucumbers, I got to tell you, it's the hardest job. It taught me the greatest lessons in my life. You get there at 5 o'clock in the morning, and you put on your gloves and your jacket. Each person's assigned a row. So you get a row of cucumbers. I mean, I don't know how long this row is. It's a long row. So you get 2 5-gallon buckets, right? You pick as many cucumbers as possible. You fill in the buckets, right? Once the buckets are filled, now mind you, I'm not a big guy and I'm a child, right? When the buckets are filled, you walk it to a quarter mile down to a waiting truck, and you finally lift one at a time. They pick them up, and I look like a little penguin as I'm walking because I'm so little, and carrying 2 5-gallon bucket of cucumbers. You know how heavy they are? So heavy. I get there, I lift it 1 bucket at a time, and I turn them in. They dump them, and they give me my buckets back. They give you 1 ticket each for each bucket. You know how much those tickets are, Dave?
I don't.
50 cents a bucket. 50 cents a bucket. I would make 20 to 25 days a day. I would be so exhausted coming home. Then I still have to go to school. That's why all this is easy and possible.
And so, as a uneducated little kid, you didn't speak any English coming here.
I didn't speak a word of English. In fact, I still have a dictionary that I stole from 3rd grade. I couldn't find the word each other. I did not know it was 2 separate words. When people say free for all or free for all, I didn't know what that was. For the longest time, I thought something that fell through. I'm like, wow, this is cool. And I'll never forget, Dave. For the first time, one time, this is a few years ago, someone says, Mony, go break a leg. I'm about to kick that person's butt. I mean, what do you mean, go break a leg? I thought it meant something other than, break a leg, being something good, right? But no, I thought it was like literally break a leg. What do you mean break a leg? I'm going to kick your... No.
Well, for people learning English, I think that's the hardest language to learn compared to someone learning Spanish or French or German.
Absolutely. I speak a little Spanish from being a police officer for 17 years. I had to learn how to do that. I also speak a little French. I took 6 years of French. And I speak Cambodian fluently. I only got a chance to go to school for 1 year. I retained it. I kept the letter. I could read and write 2nd and 3rd grade level, and I could speak fluently. But learning English, I got to tell you, it was the hardest language, because one time I ordered a set of homonyms, and I didn't realize, oh my God, there was so many textbooks that contains all our American idioms, for example. I didn't know there's so many books that contain all these idioms that we had to know. I didn't know that. I thought it was just a few things. No, English is the hardest language that I have ever learned. So,
you spent all those years in law enforcement. How did being a cop shape you?
Oh man, it helped me become disciplined, but it also gave me an opportunity to serve, and also gave me such an understanding of where people are coming from. Because you've been poor, you come across the 1% of the society a lot of times, who the underprivileged in a lower socioeconomic background. You understand where they're coming from. You understand why there's 2-3 families living in one home, because you've done it. You've been there. And in fact, I got accused of a drive-by shooting suspect before I became a police officer. My gun and badge was taken away from me for 6.5 months. And I got interrogated by the same officers I work with, and I thought I did it. And I asked for a lie detector test, and they interrogated me like hell from Stockton PD. And I knew I had nothing to do with it. I knew the truth was going to come out, and I got hired 6.5 months later after I got accused of a drive-by shooting suspect. It's crazy.
So even though you're innocent, you still have to feel like, hey, this still could go wrong. Maybe the system's against me. I'm not meant to make it.
Absolutely. I mean, you look at my life. Oh yeah, absolutely. You look at my life, I had literally, Dave, less than 1% chance of being successful. Think about this, right? You came from Cambodia, didn't speak a word of English, right? You got here, you dumpster dive every day. You became a child laborer out in the fields. Your mother has 6 months of education her entire life. Your father is a gambling alcoholic. You grew up in the ghetto of Stockton. It took me 4 years to pass a written test to get into the police academy, and I got accused of a drive-by shooting suspect before I became a police officer. I was a single father at the age of 22, and got custody of my boys at the 7 and 9. I mean, there's so many other things that happen. I grew up in the ghetto with drive-by shooting, and drugs was a way of life. Most of the friends I grew up with, a lot of them went to prison. In fact, my next door neighbor who I grew up with ended up killing, a doctor in Alamo, and is still in prison today. So if you look at all the obstacles I had to go through, and not to speak a word of English, you got to be kidding me, right? So it's less than 1% chance of being successful. And yet, here I am sitting in front of you, standing strong today.
You mentioned that single dad thing. You could probably do 2 hours on how difficult that is. That sucks.
Man, that sucks, and it's difficult. In fact, one of the things, I have two charities. One of them is Mony Nop Foundation. One of the things that we do is we offer a scholarship for arts, athletic leadership up for middle and high school students. One of the criteria in there is that if you're a single parent, mark that box. I would actually look at it and give it much more consideration if someone who has a household with mom and dad, because it is so difficult to raise a child in a single household. And I'll give you a little statistics. I could be wrong now, but when I read a while back is that if you're a single mom or dad and you're raising children, the average grade of a child growing up in a single household is a D as in dog. An average grade of a child who raised in a household with mom and dad is a B as in boy. Now, think about it. In middle school and high school, if you're an average grade as a D and a B, such a significant difference, and people probably think you're stupid or something, when in fact it has nothing to do with intellect. It only has to do with access and opportunities. That's what I've learned these days. I've learned there's only two things in life that I know. Who knows you and who do you know? And that's where I come in today.
Well, how did you then, as a single dad, have two sons that turned out okay with all those odds working against you?
So far.
Yeah.
But no, I was tough on my boys. As a police officer, I've seen so many negative sides of society, and I didn't want my boys to be like that. I was tough on my boys. They have to be home. I said there's nothing that happens good after midnight, really. And still today, we're still fighting over this. I'm like, hey, you got to come home, on a school night. He's 22 years old. Got to come home by 12 o'clock, or let me know where you're at or something, because you have to be tough on them. And it's hard. The other thing about being difficult raising a child is by yourself is because you are like the judge, jury, and execution at the same time, because you never get a break. If you have a husband or wife, your significant other, you could have a bad day. It goes, honey, can you do this for us today? Or, right? I don't have that.
Or the good cop, bad cop thing.
The good cop, bad cop. We don't have that. And we just have to do it. But knowing that, I've always told myself, I said, you know what? My father was never there for me. I'm gonna be there for my father, but I'm for my children. But I'm gonna be a father first before I become their friends. And still today, I feel that way. I said, my job is to tell you no means no, because if I don't tell you no now, later on you're gonna think that a woman or a young lady that likes you, whatever, says no, and you think it's okay. It's not okay. No's means no, and that's how I've always taught my children.
You always have a chance to either change the pattern of your generations, either continue to do what your dad did, or say, I'm never going to do it that way. I'm going to be, quote, a real parent. Did you think about that as a kid? If I'm ever a parent, this is the way I'm going to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, at the age of 16, I remember buying my first car. This is after a couple months of owning my car. I remember stopping at a light at Pacific Avenue and March Lane, in the middle lane, looking at the red light. I remember sitting in my car, and then this is a few months before that, I got my first job I worked for McDonald's. I even know what a cheeseburger was, but I became employee of the month 6 months later. But one day, I was getting out of work at 5 o'clock in the morning after a 9-hour shift. My father wouldn't come pick me up. He would rather gamble. So I ended up walking home in McDonald's uniform with a gray and pinstripe, looking like a jailbird, and a blue khakis. I looked like a jailbird. I had to walk home for 5 miles, and I would remember being so pissed off. I'm like, I would never be like my father. I remember sitting at that red light. I said, you know what? I will never be like my father. I'm going to do something in my life. And that significantly changed my life.
Does that drive you to this day?
Absolutely. Everything that I do, I want to be a perfectionist. I want to be the top. I've always risen to the top. And it's not because I was smarter. For example, before I went to St. Mary's College, I read 6 books in my entire life. I was number 2 in my class. Now, again, it's not because I was smarter. Here's what I was willing to do. As I still have an immigrant work ethics today. I could get up at 12 o'clock midnight and do whatever I need to do in order to rest of the night. Like, for example, last night. The other night, I went to the city council meeting with the mayor. I got home at midnight. I was writing an offer at 1:30 in the morning because I knew my client was going to sign at 3:30 in the morning. Last night I got up at 3:56 a.m. I couldn't sleep. I completed 2 offers. I finished putting a new home onto the market, and I did all these things for the first 2-3 hours while everybody was sleeping. I just have to do what I have to do. I never make an excuse why I can't do something, because I'm not gonna fail me, and especially I will never ever fail a client. That's how I do my business.
There's so much a part of you that's willing to be a giver that drives you. Part of your foundation and charity work, make the world a better place.
Oh man, it is, Dave. It's the greatest things on earth, really. I can't wait to give. I can't wait to give more. We share because I've been so blessed. I'll give an example. The other day, I'm not trying to tell this story to pat myself on the back, but this is a true story. It's how I operate. The other day, I've already made $67,000 with the client, and I'm walking them through a house. This is a second home that they bought with me, and they liked me so much that they shook my hand. They left the paper in my hand. I opened it up and I said, "Oh my God, what are you doing?" They gave me another $1,000, Dave. Now $68,000. Okay. So I'm like, wow. I said, I've already earned my living. You've already helped me so much. That's a lot of money. Okay, I made $9.75 before I became a police officer. I made $5.13 working McDonald's for 3.5 years. Okay, so I said, oh my God, I can't take this. He said, no, we're not gonna take it back. It's yours because you earn it. We love you. Thank you for being such a great real estate agent to us, right? I said, okay. So I took the money, I cashed it. I gave $500 to my former assistant who helped me coordinate that house that we sold. She's no longer working for me. Gave her $500 in cash. And each one of the children that wrote a book in my book got $100 in cash as well. So I got $100 for me. So I kept some for me as well. Yeah. But I was willing to share it. But that's what I like to do. I think I get such a thrill by seeing other people smile. The fact that I'm able to give, it's amazing. The greatest feelings on earth.
This is getting to you again.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because I feel like the most privileged guys on earth. I mean, 2 years ago, I got to meet President Obama. I met Norman Mineta. I just met Chrissy Yamaguchi. Just met Julia Goodrich. I met you, right? Yeah. We coached together, right? We had a ball. Now, remember, I don't know if you know this or not. I didn't know anything about basketball. Never played organized basketball in my life. And yet, I said, all right, no one's taking on. Let's coach it together. Let's do something, right? Did it?
I do remember you telling us this a few years ago. Hey, we need to spend more time on conditioning. Yeah. We got to make these boys tougher.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I make my boys tough, but I also taught my boys how to be independent. Since the age of 7 and 8 years old, when I had full custody, they've been doing my laundry until now. Still today, they still help me with my laundry. I don't know how to do laundry, which is kind of sad, right? But they wash dishes, we mop, we clean, we scrub toilets. We do laundry. They know how to do all of that. So when I'm not, and they also cook. So when I'm not there, they're able to take care of themselves anywhere, anytime. I don't have to be there. I'll give an example. My youngest son, at the age of 15 and a half, I got him a job at Alden Lane. Mind you, we live about 2.5 miles from Alden Lane. He would walk to work and get his own food, and all I do is pick him up after an 8-hour shift. He get his own food, and he goes to work. And at one time, he was playing basketball at Granada High School at 6 o'clock in the morning. Now, as a father, I used to work night shift as a police officer. So sometimes I would come pick him up in a patrol car, open the back door. I drive him to school because I don't have anybody to drop him off at 5:30 in the morning. So sometimes when I'm supposed to come pick him up for basketball practice, I don't show up. Guess what my son does? Or did?
Walks.
He walks. He runs to school at 5:30 in the morning. How many children would do that? How many? My children would do that. That's amazing. And I knew that they're going to be okay no matter what.
He was playing for Gomes then, right?
Yeah, he was playing for Gomes then. It was, our local basketball coach here. Pretty cool.
That's a Granada icon.
Yes.
Hey, tell us about the book.
The book. Wow, I wrote this book in 2003, 2004. It's called Officer MNOP and Me, How Police Officers Serve the Community on and Off Duty. And MNOP is what I taught in the school for 3 years as a DARE officer. That's what the kids call me. My first initials and my last name, MNOP. So this book is about, I wrote it from a perspective of a minority child. His name's Alex. Alex is a Puerto Rican. Mom's got arrested for using drugs, and he thought police officers out to get him and his family. A couple positive things happened. He began to change his perception. He started illustrating all the things that police officers do on the positive side of what we do as police officer. And at the end, he says, well, now you know too. Maybe I'll be a police officer too someday. We have the oath of office in there, the code of ethics in the books. It's 2 books in one, by the way. It's a workbook as well. We have crossword puzzle. We have word scramble. You can write stories about police officer. We have Q&As for parents to speak to the children about why police officers are special. I think right now it's a really, really bad time to be a police officer because there's so many negative images being portrayed about police officer. I remember being one of them, that being the honest one, being the one to be out there to serve. I would run in a building today when the bullets are flying. I would love to still be able to do that today. And those are the firefighters and the police officer we have in today, our first line defense. These guys are amazing. They would do anything for any one of us to make sure that we're safe and they're not. Who does that? That's amazing.
You said it's a bad time to be a police officer or a firefighter, but this might be a good time for that kind of story to be told when you hear of the Colin Kaepernicks who basically, for lack of a better word, insulted the police by the pigs on the socks. And obviously he's mentioning police brutality, which obviously no one supports, but he kind of blankets the whole police force in a negative way.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, it's always good to be a firefighter. Everybody loves firefighter. Police officer, not so much. But no, absolutely. I just think that the guys I work with here at Livermore Police Department and the men and women that I met throughout the country, or especially in the particular area here, I met some of the most beautiful, professional, selfless people I've ever met in my life. Because who would run into a building when bullets are flying? Who would run into the building when the buildings are crumbling? The firefighter, the police officer, we do that because it's our job. And if I ever happen to die as a result of serving someone like that, you know what? I would be so grateful because I had an opportunity to serve. And I always look at it this way. It is such a privilege to be able to serve our community, and I just love doing that. And I'm just so grateful to have that opportunity to do so.
When you hear these negative stories, and obviously that helps shape the public's perception, what do you think?
It breaks my heart, Dave. It truly, truly breaks my heart because I know the men and women out there in uniform are serving a community in the best way they know how. And we all, of course, make mistakes. There's always going to be some bad police officers out there. But for the 99.999% of the officers that I got a chance to serve with and work with and got to know, they're incredible, amazing people in our society.
You obviously have some aspirations beyond what you're doing now. In fact, now involved in politics a little bit, working with the mayor's campaign and John Marchand. How did that come about, and how are you learning on the job?
Thank God for Google, right? So I did that. No, about 2 months ago, the mayor of Livermore came to me, John Marchand came to me, and he said, hey, would you serve as my campaign manager? I didn't know anything about the job, but you know what? Everything's on Google. So I Googled it. From there, I had a vast network already. I have about 6,000 people on my phone. So I start calling around who's been involved in politics. Just start talking around. I met political advisors as a result. I met some incredible people as a result, and I'm learning. But I also look at everything that I do. I look at it from a business sense. Now, basically, I became the project manager to help the mayor. And what do I need to do in order to get this job done for him? Like, for example, on May 31st, we're helping launch his kickoff campaign at Attitude Aviation here in Livermore. So what needs to be done in that? So we're going to have, this, just all the things in order to get the event done, from evites to making sure the stage, the sound, the uplights, there's going to be 4 or 5 private planes in the back. The background is going to look good. The banner's being created right now. And trying to get the banners donated and so many other things that we're doing for the mayor to make sure that not only we do it and make it look good, but we want to do it and make it look right. Because who am I representing? I'm representing an incredible man who's honest, who's full of integrity, who just loves our city. I've never met anybody like that. He is on, I got to tell you, even when, if he doesn't win or say he won and he served his next 2 years, nobody's going to serve like he has. Because he's on 26 to 28 different committees around the area to make sure that we as Livermore people are well represented. No one does that. That guy works 7 days a week. I barely get a hold of him these days. And he's getting home 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night. I mean, just about every night. That's incredible. And do it for almost nothing. It's a thankless job. But he does an incredible job. I've never met anybody like him. I so admire him.
I bet you're learning on the job.
I'm learning on the job, and I'm having a great time and having a blast doing it. But more importantly, I love serving him because he's such a great man.
Do you have any aspirations for yourself?
I don't know yet. At this point, and this is the honest truth. I just don't know the answer to that. I'm starting to see some of the negative side of that part of it, but I don't know yet. All I know is I love serving. So whether it's from my office or serving community, I don't know yet. But that's a possibility. Absolutely.
We had a chance earlier in the month to participate in the Dancing with the Tri-Valley Stars. You really cut it up as a disco man. And part of the thing that the MC says, hey, for the winner, change your life, and he paused, forever.
Oh, forever.
But I really think for all 6 of us that did it, it was a great experience because we were able to maybe challenge ourselves in a new way.
It's amazing. It's like I look at my life. I go, there's no accidents in life, right? When we first met, we became a coach together. We didn't know each other. We got to spend some time, but that was a long time ago. Now here it is, our opportunity again to reconnect, and we're doing that. We've gone out to lunches together. We hang out. We could call each other and talk all kinds of trash, even though that trophy should have been mine. But the point is that I'm reconnecting with you.
Let me grab that so you can take a peek at it, player.
Yeah.
It's up here on the top of the shelf. There we go.
Wait, that thing is shiny. It has my name on it. What is going on here? No, that's cool. I'm so proud of you, man. It was a nerve-wracking week for both of us, for all of us. But we got to know other people as a result. Even our city councilman, Bob Carling. I didn't know a lot about him, but I got to know a little bit more about him, reading more about him. And, the other day, he saw me at the city council. He came up and said hello. That's never happened before, which is really nice. And we got to know, our other competitors as well, from Faith to Julia Goodrich to Carla Brown as well, the other city council member from the city of Pleasanton. Amazing.
At what point during the week as we're preparing for this contest, because we knew about it for 3 or 4 months before, but at what point does it hit in, oh my God, I can't believe we're going to do this, where the nerves become a factor?
When we first met them, and I remember posting on Facebook, and one of my hashtag was, what was I thinking? I was like, oh my God. I didn't know. I thought we get like 6-7 hours of practice with them. I didn't know it was Monday through Friday, an hour each day. It's only 5 hours. What got me scared was that, first of all, when we met them on Sunday, we start practicing on Monday, right? So every night after that, I would get up at 2, 3, or 4 o'clock in the morning, like my stomach's churning. I'm in sweats, like, oh my gosh, there's no way. And the scariest part was that, I don't know about your experience, but on my 4th hour, I go, there is no way. I got one more practice, 1 more hour left. I don't even know my routine yet. Well, how am I going to do this thing? I was a nervous wreck. Alcohol helps, so I don't know if it did for you or not.
Well, I know you were calling and swapping texts Thursday and Friday, totally stressed out.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I was scared, but you know what? It's one of those things that you were scared, but you push yourself beyond limits, right? You never know how far you can stretch until you actually stretch yourself. It's like a rubber band. And we did it. We're proud of it. We help our community raise awareness about the arts. We raise some money for our community. And being an ambassador to arts as well, because I love arts, because I didn't even get to go to a theater until I was 27 years old. As an adult, as a police officer. It's kind of crazy. But I never had that opportunity in life. So that's the first time I got to experience. Now I couldn't wait. I love the arts.
When Alex mentioned the whole change forever, and I looked at a 90-second routine, there's a lot of maybe life lessons in the 90 seconds. And to me, Juliet Goodrich, I thought to me, explained everything about life perseverance, because she had a over-rotated backflip at the beginning of her routine, fell, got up and nailed the rest of it with the biggest smile that lit up the room. And that showed me, hey, you know what? You get knocked down and you get up, and it was all in a 90-second routine.
It's amazing. It's almost like a look at our life itself, right? You got to be stretched. You're gonna fall. You're gonna stumble, and that's what we all did. We fail and slightly. We stumble, but the best part, I have an intern that just started working with me a couple of days ago. And one of the lessons one of the things I make them do is I make them go through the videos that I have, which is the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John Maxwell. And we talk about the laws of the lid, the laws of influence, and all these other things. But one of the lessons I told them today, I said, you got to make mistakes. I said, the goal is not to repeat those mistakes, but you got to make mistakes, because that's how I've been able to grow so much. And that's how I've been able to stretch so much. And that I could do 2, 3, 4 people's job and feel like, this is okay. I could do this. No big deal.
And that's what you got out of messing up a grapevine on stage?
Yes. Yeah, thank God I didn't trip and fall on my own, right, doing a grapevine on stage. But yes, absolutely.
Would you do it again?
I would do it again because it was so much fun, and the nervousness, but it's also at the end of the tunnel is that total exhilaration. When you finish it, you go, wow, I felt like 1,000 pounds lifted off my shoulders because I did it. I did it something that stretched me beyond that I would never done. I don't dance. I got, I think 3 left feet or just 2. We only have 2, right? I think I have 3. Yeah. But literally I have 2 left feet, and I was able to do it. That was pretty amazing.
Could you feel the energy of the crowd?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, they're so kind and cheerful to us and so supportive of what we do. Absolutely. It was electric. That's how I would describe it.
Well, it's been a blast hanging out with you, and we'll be supportive of what you do. Will you come back and do this again?
Absolutely. Would love to come back, Dave, and thank you so much for the opportunity to share my story a little bit. My life's been such an incredible journey. I often think of Mother Teresa's quote. She said, "Do things for other, not because of what you expect in return, but do it because of who you are." And that's how I live my life every day. And I hope that people will get that message too. That, in fact, I teach a 3-hour course. One of the things we always stress on the art of networking is that you always go out there and serve people first. If the moment you look at your own pocketbook, you're doing it the wrong way. But at the moment you go out there and serve people first and be the first to find ways to serve them, that's the most incredible thing you could ever do. And for every minute that you give them, you're going to get 10 back. For every dollar you give them, you're going to get 10 back. It's been incredible. And that's how my life has been led.
You're doing it the right way. Thanks a lot, my friend.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
That's a good dude. Maybe give you some pause when you think about going through adversity in your life. Thanks to Mony Nop. Thank you for listening. You can subscribe on iTunes, Google Play, wherever you get your podcasts. Give us some nice words, a positive review. It will really help out a lot. I appreciate the feedback. I also appreciate you taking the time to listen. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you next time.